basically would mean if you sold the property, then the loan gets accelerated. If it's owned by entities, that sale of the property might not be considered, and probably wouldn't generally be considered to have occurred when the entity is sold, but there may be a change of control clause in the loan as well that says in the event of a change of control of the underlying entity, then the loan is also accelerated. So the first thing is, what are the conditions under which the loan gets accelerated and now is due? And then how do we work around those?
So we're looking at doing two land acquisitions, but you and I talked about this some time ago, and we talked about a hybrid acquisition. And I'm just wondering, how does that look when I want to take over the existing LLCs? And the whole reason we're doing this is the interest rates are below 2% on the land loans, so we'd like to keep that in place. Yeah, what do we need to, I think we can get the owner to stay on if we need to for probably 10%, but we don't want to have anything from the loans people getting activated that they're going to say, hey, you can't do this. So what's the best way to do this?
So you're going to want to take a good look at the agreements that are already in place on those loans and look for due on sale clauses, which probably are in there. Um, there may or may not be a change of control clause. So a due on sale clause basically would mean if you sold the property, then the loan gets accelerated. If it's owned by entities, that sale of the property might not be considered, and probably wouldn't generally be considered to have occurred when the entity is sold, but there may be a change of control clause in the loan as well that says in the event of a change of control of the underlying entity, then the loan is also accelerated. So the first thing is, what are the conditions under which the loan gets accelerated and now is due? And then how do we work around those? The most common way would be a wrap, where you basically have a note that basically encompasses all of the assets that you're there, but that's still technically going to trigger the due on sale clause. You're just not going to record it and you're going to hope that they don't find out about it. The better way to do it, if there was a change of control clause, would be probably to do an option with a proxy on the control of the entity. So rather than what I would do is purchase a minority interest in the company. So you have the equity vested, which gives you different sets of rights. So let's say that you acquired 49% of the entity. The seller is willing to stay on, which is good. So you've got continuity of name. You then would have an option agreement to acquire the remaining 51% at whatever you guys had agreed on. That could be, if the seller needs to get more money during that time, that could be an option that was triggered so that the option was only, whatever the amount of the last payment on it would be. So let's say that you close on the deal, you acquire 49% of equity on the closing. The option is a 5-year option, and it's $10,000 a month for 5 years. So that'd be what, $600,000. And then with the last $10,000 payment, you would basically say the option could be exercised for whatever the remaining balance on the option payments is at the time of the exercise. Meaning that if you exercised it after 1 year, you would have to exercise it for 48,000. But if you were to exercise it anytime after if you were to exercise it in the 60th month, then it would be 10,000. So that it'd be kind of like a declining balance option exercise kind of thing. And then so that you could have the ability to control the company, you could, without an actual change of control, you could maybe do a proxy where you had the right to vote or something like that. But you probably wouldn't need to do that, because that also could potentially trigger it. So you could still, through a management agreement, be able to make the management decisions that you needed to make during that period of time, and that'd probably accomplish what you want to accomplish.